Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Maker, and today I'm teaching you how to set up and connect with your CRICUT Explore 3 cutting machine. This is the CRICUT Kickoff Lesson 1, and together we're going to set up our CRICUT Explore 3 cutting machines together, step by step. So please pull up a chair here in my studio and let's get started. Now, the CRICUT Explore 3 is a computer-guided cutting machine that cuts more than 100 different materials, everything from vinyl and paper to even things like fabric and thin wood. The CRICUT Explore 3 is the next generation cutting machine after the CRICUT Explore Air 2, and it introduces the ability to cut smart materials without a mat up to 12 feet long. But it still does most everything else that the CRICUT Explore Air 2 can do, which you can see. Actually, I don't have it out right now, but I just did that one earlier today. It uses the same tools, pens, and mats as the Explore Air 2. So in addition to being able to make longer cuts, the Explore 3 can cut smart materials twice as fast as the original, and it can do print and cut on colored paper as well as white paper. And it's compatible with the optional roll holder to make it easier to cut from a roll. Now, just a little background, there are actually 4 CRICUT Explore models. The Explore 1 has a single clamp and it must use a USB connection. There's no Bluetooth for it. The Explore Air has 2 clamps and it can use Bluetooth as well as the USB cable to cut projects. The Explore Air 2 uses Bluetooth and it can cut in up to twice as fast. And the Explore 3 can do everything that the others can do, but it can also use smart materials which cut faster, longer, and without a mat. But right now, I'm just going to show you how to set up a CRICUT Explore 3. So here I have a brand new and still sealed in the box CRICUT Explore 3 cutting machine. I'm going to open the box with you. We're going to see what's inside. We're going to connect it to a variety of devices, everything from a Mac and a Windows computer to an iPad and an Android. So basically everything, so everyone is covered. And then we're going to do our first test cut. My goal is to get you set up and able to cut by the end of this video. This is really easy and you totally got this. Okay, now I have something special to help you. It is a completely free printable handbook that goes along with these free lessons. You can download it right now at CRICUTKickoff.com. Just register for the class and you will get the handbook. I'll be referring to it as we go along during today's lessons. There's lots of really awesome things in here that will help you out during setup especially. And one more thing, I want to remind everyone that you are not alone. I am here to help you, as is my awesome team and my amazing community. There's more than 500,000 of us CRICUT crafters in my community alone. Hang out here with me, take notes in your handbook, and if you get stuck, just raise your hand, ask for help. Come on over to my CRICUT Crafters group. It's at jennifermaker.com/CRICUTcrafters. It's an awesome place. We love to help, and truly, truly we do. We love to see you make things that make you happy. All right, it's time for us to open up the CRICUT Explore 3 and see what's inside. So here is the big box. And it's still sealed, as I said, so I'm going to use my trusty CRICUT True Control knife. You can use whatever you got. Just, it's going to cut it right up here. I have to show you what's on top of the box too. I'm going to switch my camera over so you can see the overhead view. You were born creative. I love that because it's totally true. We were all born creative. All right, so inside the box, we have our welcome packet, which is this envelope right on top here. And inside here, let's be all neat about that one too. There we go. Inside here, you have your test materials, which I will explain all later. Your Let's Get Started. This is basically everything you do to get started, and we will go through this together. And then also, you have your test materials. So you have a piece of smart vinyl. It says right in the back that it's smart vinyl, and your warranty. Always nice to have that, of course. And then so this we'll be using for today. Okay. There's also a set, 3 full sheets of vinyl and sort of smart paper, smart vinyl, and a piece of transfer tape. I think it actually says. Well, actually, I can open this up and I can show you exactly what's in here. This comes in every Cricut Explore 3. I actually have a whole video that shows you 3 projects you can make with these 3 sheets of materials. Okay, so a piece of smart paper, which is sticker cardstock, a piece of smart iron-on for making like t-shirts or tote bags, a piece, well, we'll hold off on that one, a piece of smart vinyl, so for signs or, you know, a shadow box or something like that, and then a piece of transfer tape for that smart vinyl so that you can apply it. So again, I have a video that shows you how to use those. We won't use those during anything in Cricut Kickoff. Instead, I recommend you watch that video after Cricut Kickoff to see how to make those 3 projects. Okay, so we'll set those aside for now. You do want to keep this piece of smart vinyl out, though. We will use that in today's lesson. All right, and then we have our actual Cricut Explore 3. Let's go ahead and lift this out and get it out of the box. Just lift it straight out. I say that. Let's try that again. I might have to have Greg come help me because I can't quite seem to get it. It's like catching on the lip there. I'm going to ask him for help. Hang on. This is a good 2-person job. Guess I could just reach in here and get it. Nope. He's going to come help me. Will you hold the box while I lift this out? Thank you. Yeah, you can get it, or I can get it. I just, thank you. Here you go. Set it right in front here. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so inside your box, don't neglect this part. You have your power supply. You need this. Your USB cable, and that's it. So if you've had a Cricut before, you may be like, well, where's my pen? There is no pen with the Cricut Explore 3. So let's set the box aside. Be sure to save your box if you're going to move or you have to ship it, transport it. The box is the best thing to do it in. It's got these, you know, little things. Save these 2 because these are great to have for if you have to, you know, ship it or something. All right. I saved all my boxes. Okay, so here is our Cricut. Let's unwrap this. Little sticker on top. We're just gonna do this carefully. You don't want to, you know, accidentally cut into your Cricut or anything like that. You can just rip that off. All right, so it's in here and it's shrink wrapped. It's super well protected. Well, actually, it's not shrink wrapped. It's just got some plastic on the ends here. All right. And let's get this plastic off. Let's start with this one. Just kind of rip it off here. It's like Christmas morning, right? Just rip off that paper. Yesterday was Christmas, right? And Greg loves to wrap. And he wrapped most of our presents in this really nice paper. It was so thick. Like, it was so hard to rip off. It looked amazing, but I just want to rip it. I just want to rip all the paper. I couldn't. I had to carefully unwrap it all. All right. There we go. Isn't this a lovely color? I love the color of the Cricut Explore 3. Okay. There's a sticker here. Let's take off the sticker. This keeps the lid from popping open during transport. There we go. All right, so let me give you a little tour of the Cricut Explore 3 so you know all where to find everything, okay? So This is the top-down view. Here's what it looks like from the front, right? You'll see it from the front more too. So first we have our accessory trays. The one in the back is deeper than the one in the front. This one in the front has a little rubbery bottom, right? And actually they both do, which is hard to reach that one. This one is great for tools and pens. This one is great for smaller things like blades and stuff like that. This button right here is the lid open and close button. You press that and the lid, the top lid and the front lid auto open for you. All right, and then let's wait for it to open. A little slow. It's like waking up, like, oh, hey, it's trying to do stuff. Okay, inside there is a piece of styrofoam that's kept under the blade assembly during transport, so remove that. You don't want that in there, so get rid of that. This part right here is the blade assembly. This is clamp A, and this is clamp B. Okay, so clamp A is for things like pens and scoring stylus, and clamp B is where your blade is. And indeed, your fine point blade is pre-installed in your Cricut Explorer 3. For some reason it isn't, because you got a secondhand one or something. You can just open up this clamp and put it right in there like this, right? And then it just closes like this, okay? So that's the fine point blade right there. All right, and then this is the roller bar. These are the star wheels. Sometimes we move those occasionally, but you don't have to worry about that right now. Over here on the right, this is the power button. This is the load and unload button. And this is the play button, because it looks like a play button. This is the go button. This is the one where we start cutting. And this is the pause button right here. If you've had a Cricut Explorer before, you might notice that the dial is missing. There's on the Explorer Air 2 and earlier, there's a smart dial right here. We don't need to have that with the Cricut Explorer 3. Instead, we'll set all of our materials in Cricut Design Space, which is by far better. I tell everyone that has the older Explorers to put their dial on custom so they can do the same thing that you can do here. All right, and then in the front here, we have a little accessory tray. So on this side, you can put blades. So your housings fit into the little grooves right here. And right here is, this is magnetic, so you can keep blades in here like this. And on this side, there's one for like larger tools that can go in right here. And you can keep them in here while you open and close this. One more thing I want to note is that there is a little recess right here that is perfect for putting a phone or a tablet while you're working. It sits right in there like this, so you can work on your tablet and you can see it as you're working, right? So it's right in here. The older Explorers did not have this, so I really like this little tray here. All right, and that's basically it. On the back, we have this slot that you see right here. This is where the material passes through as it's cutting. So you always want to keep anything away from this slot here. And then right here, this is the USB port. This is for connecting your Cricut Explorer 3 to your computer via the USB cable. Which is this right here that came in your box, right? You can also use Bluetooth, but you can use USB. And then this here is your power port. So that is your Cricut Explorer 3 in a nutshell. Alrighty, now it's time to connect to your Cricut Explorer 3. Let me move these things over here a little bit. And we're going to connect it. And you're going to see how all it works. We're going to get powered on. Okay, so let's actually move this over here because I have another camera that we'll use for getting a closer look at it. We'll set it right here for now. Okay, it looks so nice. It's so pretty. Okay, all right, so it's time to connect to our Cricut Explorer 3. To do this, first you need an internet connection. Cricut requires a broadband connection of at least 2 to 3 megabits per second, which really isn't that fast. My connection here at the studio is 100 megabits per second. Most people will have no problems with this. You can even use the connection on your phone so long as it's a good, strong connection. You'll also need a device to connect your Cricut to. right? So because the Cricut does not operate independently, it can be a Windows computer running Windows 10 or later, a Mac computer running OS 11 or later, an iPhone or an iPad running 14.5 or later, and an Android running version 9 or later. You could always check the latest system requirements at jennifermaker.com/cricut-requirements. Now I want to show you how to connect to each one of these devices in turn. We'll start first with a Mac computer because that's what I've got right here on my desk. But then we'll do a Windows computer, an iPad, which will be the same as an iPhone, and an Android tablet, which will be the same as an Android phone. So to begin, we want to refer back to the materials included with our Cricut Explore 3. So let's find those again. They're over here, they are. All right, so everything that came, again, let's just go over what we have. So here's our test material. We're going to use this for our first test cut. Our warranty card, this is our Let's Get Started card. Our power cable, our USB cord. This is all the things. I'm not missing anything, right? Nope, this is everything. Other than those 3 full-size sheets, which we're not going to use during our Cricut Kickoff. All right, so right here, this tells us exactly what to do to get set up, and it says activate your machine at cricut.com/setup. So let's head on over to my browser and I'll show you exactly how that works. All right, here we go. I'm in Google Chrome, but you could use any modern web browser for this. All right, so we just go to cricut.com/setup. All right, so you want to click on Cutting Machine here, and then you want to choose your Cricut, and we are setting up a Cricut Explorer, so we click on that. All right, next is to download Cricut Design Space. So before you can click the Download Now button, you need to agree to the terms of use. So then we click Download Now. And then it downloads to your computer. Oops, sorry. My tablet fell. Okay. You can follow these directions to go find it in your downloads folder, but if you're using Google Chrome like I am, just come down here to this little arrow right here and choose Open. It makes it easier to find it. Here we go, and it opens up like this on the Mac, right? Now to install it on your Mac, all you need to do is click, hold down your mouse, drag it over on top of this folder right here, and let go of your mouse, and that will just copy it over. So I'm going to click, hold, drag, and release. That's it. And then we just double click on this folder to go find what we just installed, which is right here, Cricut Design Space. We double click that, and that will open up Cricut Design Space for us. If you get this message, it's okay to click Open. This is a safe program. If you get another message that says, oh, hey, we blocked this because of your security preferences, just come down to your dock, usually at the bottom of your screen, go to System Preferences, go to Security, and give it permission to open. But we'll click Open for now. And it opens. If this is the latest version with the time I'm recording this video, if your version is different than this, don't worry. The setup process rarely changes, so it should still be good, okay? Even if you're watching this a year from now, it should still be good. All right, Cricut Design Space. All right, so when you first open it, I'm going to switch over to this bigger view here. When you first open it, you have the option at the bottom to either do the product setup or do a sign-in. Now, you might be tempted to do sign-in if you already have a Cricut account, but don't. Instead, I want you to go ahead and do product setup. If you already have a Cricut account, it might just sign you right in, okay? If it does that, you can always do what we're doing by going to the Settings menu and choosing Product Setup, okay? But we're going to assume that you're new to Cricut, and I'm going to go ahead and click Product Setup here. And that brings us to the sign-in screen. If you do have an account already that's not signed in, click on Sign In, put in your email address and your password, and sign in. You do want to stay with your same Cricut ID so that you get access to all your projects from the past. But if you're new, you want to click Create Cricut ID and type in your email address. So I'm going to type in mine. All right, so make sure your email address is correct. Double and triple check it. And then for your password, it needs to be at least 8 characters long. Have upper and lowercase letters, numbers, at least one number and at least one special character. There we go. And then make sure you put in your name properly. Choose your location from this drop-down menu. And then at the bottom, you can't click Create Cricut ID until you agree to Cricut's terms of use and privacy policy. You can always read these things if you haven't read them before. I have, of course. I recommend you do the same thing. But once you click that, the button turns to green and you can click it. And then you will get a setup page where you need to choose what you're setting up again. So we're setting up the machine. And then you choose your cutting machine, and we're setting up the Cricut Explore 3. All right, now we need to prepare our workspace. So let's switch over to our side view. Here's our Cricut Explore 3. Sorry, things are falling off my desk. All right, so it's important that you have clearance behind your Explore. So if we look at it from the side, you want to be sure that you have space behind your Cricut Explore for the mat to move in and out as it's working. So you don't want to put your Explore 3 right up against a wall, like right here. If it did and your mat went in or your smart material and it hit the wall, you would get an error, right? So make sure you have at least 10 inches or 23 centimeters behind your Cricut, if not more, so there's lots of room for it to work, okay? All right, our next step is to find an outlet and plug in the Cricut Explore 3 and power it on. So remember I showed you where the power was. So it's right here in the back. Here is the power port right here, or the plug right here. So this is our power cable thing, whatever we call that, power cable, that works for it. It goes into this one right here. There we go. I want you to note that this swivels, right? So don't put your cable in like this and have the cable across the back. You need to make sure that this slot here is free and it's not going to hit your cable as it's moving in and out, all right? You want to, so I recommend you keep your cable off to the side like this so that you're not having any jams or anything like that. All right, and then we need to plug it in. You don't have to plug it into a wall outlet. You can put it into an extension cord or a power strip if it's properly rated and all that good stuff. So I have an extension cord right here. So here's the extension cord, and I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. It is not polarized, so I can plug it in on either side here. There we go. So it's plugged in, and a little light will turn on the little power supply right here to indicate that it's getting power, if that is helpful to you to know. All right, and now let's flip it around, get all of our cables situated. I'm going to let these drape off the table here. And there is our pretty Cricut Explore 3. Plenty of room behind the back here, right? All right, and we need to power it on. Remember, the power button is right here. So that's how it should sound, okay? So if there's like a lot of noise, then there's an issue and you should contact Cricut right away. The Cricut Member Care site, their phone number, their email address is right at Cricut.com. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can find their support. And they are awesome. They truly are. All right, so let's go back to Cricut Design Space and see where we are. All right, so we've plugged in the Cricut Explore 3 and we have powered it on. So then we click the green Next button at the bottom. All right, connect Cricut Explore 3. So we either can choose USB or Bluetooth. Now, I personally recommend USB over Bluetooth. You can pick either one, but in my experience, Bluetooth is more reliable and it's faster, right? It's just a little faster to send it through the cable than to send it over Bluetooth. Pick the one that's right for you. I'm going to use a USB cable right now. I will, of course, also show you Bluetooth. So I'm going to go ahead and choose USB. And I need to attach it, right? So let's go back to our Cricut. Now here is our USB cable. I'll open up that. And normally you would just want to connect it to the back of your or side of your computer, right? But my computer is about 5 feet away, so we're going to use an extension instead. And I use an extension like this. It's a 12-foot extension, and it allows me to use the more reliable USB cable from farther away than normally you would be able to, because this cable that Cricut provides is maybe 5 or 6 feet. So I use an extension cable, which looks like this. Oops, sorry. One moment. I need to fix that so it's not in your way. There we go. It was all kind of bunched up here. Okay. So there is our extension cable right here. And you just plug in one end. Am I doing this wrong? There we go. I'm not doing it wrong. All right, and then the cable itself goes in the back. So just flip this around so you can see it. Let me bring that up. So here is the back of the Cricut Explore 3, and it goes right here, right? So when you want to put it with the USB symbol up. So it goes in. I'm putting it in the right spot. There we go. Just like this, with the symbol up, like that. Okay. All right, let's flip it back around so you can watch it in action. Get all of our cables situated. Remember, we want to keep them away from the slot in the back. There we go. There. All right. So let's hop over to Design Space and see what it says. It says connect to computer, use the included USB cable. So we did that. So it says please wait. So we're waiting here for it to recognize that it sees the Cricut Explore 3. So when it's working, you will see the name show up here. Okay, you'll see Cricut Explore 3 will show up here. Let me show, while we're waiting, let me show you Bluetooth. Okay, so on the Mac, to find Bluetooth, you come down here to System Preferences, and you want to go to Bluetooth. I'll back up one step here. So Bluetooth is right here. It looks like this. Make sure it's turned on. That's important. Oops, I'm sorry. You're not seeing it. Let's try that again. All right, to find Bluetooth on the Mac, you want to come down to your dock and look for System Preferences. System Preferences looks like this, and Bluetooth is right here. Make sure Bluetooth is turned on, and then look here at the bottom for something that says Explore 3. You can see my Explore 3 is right here, and I'm going to click Connect. And there's the Explore 3. Let's give it a minute. Make sure it stays connected, which it did not. So this is my third Bluetooth failure today. Normally I would restart my computer, but I can't do that because we're doing classes. So I think I'm having a Bluetooth issue. So forgive me. If you also have a Bluetooth issue, like I can tell, none of mine have connected, as you can see. Chances are I just need to restart my computer. Restarting your computer does so much good. It's amazing. It clears a lot of issues. But other things that you'll want to do are make sure that you are within at least 10 feet of your computer. 10 to 15 feet is the recommended distance between your Cricut and your Bluetooth device, computer, mobile device, whatever it is, right? You have to be close enough for the Bluetooth signal to pick up and work properly. And then, powering things on and off can help. Turning Bluetooth on and off can help too. I know from experience from my two previous sessions this morning that that's not going to help this morning, so we're not going to bother. Let's go back to Cricut Design Space and see how we're doing here. It still says please wait, right? So this here means we're not good to go. So I am going to just go back and see if I can kind of, wake it up. So I'm going to go back one step. I'm going to choose USB again, and I'm going to see if that helps, and it did. So now I see the Explore 3. Sometimes just toggling something on and off so it's like it looks again for something helps a lot, especially with any kind of connectivity thing. Like sometimes if it's looked once, it thinks it just hasn't found it. So trying again it does like a new search, and it's like, oh, there it is. Okay, so if you ever have issues with anything that connects like this is my suggestion. All right, so we have it connected via USB, and if you have issues, you can click on this little link. It'll give you some tips on things that you can do to help you get connected. But my suggestion is to keep trying. Like you will figure it out. You will figure it out. So, all right, and then click on continue. All right, now we need to activate the Explore 3. Double check that your email address is correct. If it's not, click here to change it. And then click on I agree to Cricut's terms of use and privacy policy and click activate. It'll update to make sure you have the latest firmware, and then it'll tell you that your setup is complete and your Cricut Explore 3 is now registered to your account. And we click next. All right, now we're up to our test cut. To make sure your machine is working perfectly, we're going to cut this vinyl decal. All right, so we're going to stop right there and we're going to pause. We're not going to stop, we're going to pause so that I can just really quickly go over how to do this same process on Windows and iPad and iPhone and Android tablet and phone. So everybody knows exactly how to connect no matter what device they have, because it will look a little different on each one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is switch over to that video, and I will narrate it as we go along. I pre-recorded them so they're nice and short, and we don't have to worry about connection issues. All right. One moment, please. Sorry, I need to back up a little bit here. All right, setting up a Cricut Explore 3 on a Windows computer. You want to go to your browser and go to cricut.com/setup to get to the setup page to download your software. If you've already downloaded your software, you don't have to do this again, by the way. And then click on Cutting Machine. And on the following page, click Cricut Explore. And then on this page, indicate that you agree to Cricut's terms of use and click Download Now. And that will download Design Space for Windows. If you're on Google Chrome, click that little arrow and choose Open when done. And if you do that, it will just start installing for you. If you don't have that, you can always find it in your Downloads folder. Once it's installed, it'll open up for you. And at the bottom, you'll see Product Setup and Sign In. Choose Product Setup and click on that. And it looks like this. It looks really similar, right? So you want to go ahead and sign in if you already have an account. Otherwise, click on Create Cricut ID and put in your email address. Be sure to type carefully, triple check that you got it correct. And again, your password needs to be at least 8 characters, upper lowercase, numbers, and special characters. And then you put in your name and also choose your country. And then at the bottom, be sure to agree to the Cricut terms of use so that you can click the button and create your Cricut ID. All right, now you're at the setup, so go ahead and click Smart Cutting Machine to continue on and choose your machine here. We have the Cricut Explore 3 right at the top center. All right, we see the same thing. Prepare your workspace, find an outlet. This is all the same as what you just saw. And then we get to the connection stage. And again, you can choose USB or Bluetooth to connect to. And it's your choice. I'm going to click on Bluetooth. And on the Windows computer, to find Bluetooth, you need to go to your settings and search for Bluetooth, right? And then it looks like this. You may see it at the bottom. It may, be picking it up. If it isn't, click on Add Device and then choose Bluetooth, and hopefully it'll find it there and you can add it. If it asks you for a pairing code, type in 0000. But typically the Explore 3 does not need a pairing code. So there it is, and we click Done, and we can then add it. So we go back to Cricut Design Space, and you'll see it shows up in the box, and we can click Continue. All right, so we need to activate it to that email address. Double check that you got it right. Don't forget that. Agree again to the terms of use and click Activate. It will download any firmware it might need, and when that's done, you click Next. And that brings you to your test cut, which looks just like this, the exact same spot that we were at before. So we will pause right here and we'll take a look at what it's like on an iPad, an iPhone. All right, Setting up a Cricut Explore 3 on an iPad or iPhone. So go to Safari on your iPad or iPhone and type in cricut.com/setup. And that will bring you to the setup page, which looks like this. So you want to tap on Cutting Machine right there. And then you want to choose your Cricut, and we're doing the Cricut Explore, so tap on the Explore. And then you need to download. So tap I agree, and then tap Download Now, right below that. All right, that brings you right into the App Store, so you can download Cricut Design Space. And so just tap on Get, and it'll download right to your device. It doesn't take too long. The software isn't too large. Note that this software is kept up to date, so you'll want to download it regularly. If it doesn't update, usually it tells you when it's up to date. And then tap on Open. You'll be prompted to open, agree to Bluetooth and notifications. That is up to you, of course, but I recommend that you definitely want Bluetooth, right? And notifications are a good idea. And then you'll see at the bottom you have Machine Setup and Sign In. You want to tap on Machine Setup. That brings you to the sign-in screen. Create a Cricut Ideas for new users. If you have an account, you want to click on Sign In and put in your email address and your password. Otherwise, go back to Create Cricut ID and put in your email address carefully. You'll want to make sure you're not making any mistakes here. Double and triple check it. By the way, this isn't a real email address. I use these just for Cricut Kickoff, so don't try to email me there. They won't work. And then your password should be at least 8 characters long, have upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. You can record your password right in the Cricut handbook so that you don't forget about it. And then put in your first and last name so that Cricut knows who you are and addresses you properly in its emails, if it emails you, or so that you can be looked up. And then also you'll want to select your country. You can just go ahead and search for the first few letters in the top bar and then select it from the list that auto-populates. And then in order to create it, you have to, again, agree to Cricut's terms of use and their privacy policy, and then tap the button at the bottom. All right, that brings you to your machine selection. So choose your machine, which is in our case, the Cricut Explore 3. I know there's a lot of choices here, but the Cricut Explore 3 is right in the very center, right there in the center. Okay, so we need to get connected. So we plug in the Explore 3, power it on, and we want to pair it, right? So Bluetooth needs to be turned on your iPad or your iPhone. If you don't see your Cricut Explore 3 just popping up for you and saying it's good to go, you need to go turn on Bluetooth and pair it yourself. So go to your home screen and then go to Settings, which looks like this on the iPad, this little icon with the gear icon. Tap on that and then choose Bluetooth from the sidebar on the left. And then you'll want to look under Other Devices for the Cricut Explore 3. It says Explore 3. See mine right there at the top? And once you see that, you want to tap it to add it. If you're asked for a pairing code, use 0000, but the Cricut Explore 3 shouldn't need it. And then you just go back to the Cricut Design Space app, which is right there. And it tells you that you're good to go, and you can tap Continue. And you can see your Cricut Air is selected. And then there we go. So there, you're all good to go once you've got it in there. Now you might be offered the option to get Cricut Access if you, I actually haven't discussed Cricut Access yet in this video. I will tell you all about Cricut Access in lesson 3 of Cricut Kickoff. So my recommendation right now is to skip it, because if you join, you get a 30-day trial, and I want you to use the trial when you're actually able to make things. And so you understand what it is. So just wait until lesson 3. So for now, click on or tap on skip. If you don't see skip, you just need to scroll down so it appears at the top. And then you get the option to test an image set. So there's actually more options on the iPad. So you can just choose one of these and it'll let you do your test cut on these. So just pick one, and that we'll pause here and we'll talk about the Android. All right. So let's do the Android now. Setting up a Cricut Explore 3 on Android. So on your Android device, go to Google Chrome and tap in cricut.com/setup, just like in every other case. I love how consistent it is. That makes my life easier. And then tap on Cutting Machine and then choose Cricut Explore 3. And on this page, you could tap View, but I recommend that you just scroll down, agree to the terms of service, and then go ahead and tap on Install. That takes you actually to the Google Play Store, and it downloads the app for you right onto your Android device. So nice and convenient. You don't have to go there yourself. It'll take you there, which is more reliable because then you find the right thing. You're not guessing at what the right app is. And when it's all installed, you'll want to tap Open, and it will open up for you on your tablet or your phone. All right, there it is. I note that it does switch to the landscape view like this on the Android. So the Android app is only currently available in the, it switches to the portrait mode. So it's taller rather than wider. So if this does this to you and it confuses you, it's normal. It does not switch to landscape, okay, on Android. So it's just this is the view that you get for it on Android. Okay, so at the bottom we have the same two buttons we saw before, Machine Setup and Sign In. I want you to tap Machine Setup, and that will bring you to the Cricut ID page that we've been seeing in all of our setups, and it works exactly the same way. Sign in if you already have an account, and if you don't, you'll want to tap Cricut ID and put in all of your information. Again, be careful when you put in your email address so it's correct. And same for, for your password, be sure to make a note of it. Don't rely on your memory because you'll get distracted after this and want to start doing stuff and you'll forget so write it down. There's a spot in your handbook for your password so that you remember it, or however you like to record your passwords. And then put in your name and choose your country. And then at the bottom, agree to the terms of use again, and then tap the big green button to create your account, which is free. Cricut Design Space is free. All right, and then we need to power on the Explorer 3 and connect it. So go at the bottom, you can go ahead and tap Connect when you're ready. All right, so Connect Explorer 3. If you don't see it here, you'll want to go ahead and tap that plus button to pair it. You may need to go into Bluetooth settings on your Android device. Make sure Bluetooth is turned on, and then look for your Cricut Explore 3 in the list and choose it from here, right? So you need to pair it before. Like sometimes it does it for you, sometimes it doesn't, right? If you're asked for a code, put in 400000. Typically, you won't need it with the Explore 3, however. And then return to the Design Space app and tap Pair and Connect. And there we go. If you're offered Cricut Access, I recommend you skip it for now and let me tell you all about it in Lesson 3, where you can really make the most use of your free trial. All right, there we go. And then that brings you up to the image set to do a test cut. So you can pick one of these, anything you want, and that's it. That's how we do it on all of the devices. So we did Mac, Windows, iOS, which is iPad and iPhone, and Android, which works for all phones and tablets. One question people ask me about is Google Chromebook. So Chromebook is not officially supported by Cricut, but on Chromebook, you can use apps from the Google Play Store. So you can download the Android version of Cricut Design Space, and you should be able to use that on your Chromebook. Just for the purposes of Cricut Kickoff, you'll want to do, and when it comes to Lesson 3, you'll want to do the Android lesson. Okay, so because a Google Chromebook is not a laptop or desktop, it's an Android device. So you'll want to do that lesson for it so that you understand that. All right, I think that we're now ready to do our first cut. So we've got every single machine is connected and we're ready. So let's go back to Cricut Design Space. I need a drink, one moment. All right, so let's test our machine. So here is, we didn't really get a choice on on the Mac or the Windows. I don't know why. That we're gonna cut out this one. So we're gonna go ahead and tap on next. All right, prepare for cut. So confirm that the fine point blade is loaded and secured into clamp B. And is our blade in there? Always make sure your blade's in here. It is. This is the fine point blade. It does come pre-installed on your Cricut. So, but if you're borrowing one or something, it's possible it's not in there. So you just put it in there and close the clamp. Okay. Back in Design Space, our next step is to actually put our vinyl in. So use both hands to insert the smart vinyl sheet that came with your machine. It was in the big white envelope. We have that. Push it under the guides until the rollers grip the material. Okay, so here is our smart material right here. And I'm going to switch my view just a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in. There we go. I want to make sure that you can see. So when you put in smart material, it's very important that it's between these two guides that's here on the lid, right? And it also goes under the guides here and here, okay? Let me actually angle that so you can see both guides. There, okay. So there's a guide here and a guide here, and there's also one here and here. So I'm going to get behind it. Normally you would do this from the front, right? All right, so you want to, using both hands, you're going to guide it in like this, and it's going to go under these two guides right here and right here, and then it's going to go up against the rollers like this, right? So it's just pressing up against the rollers, it's under these guides, and it's in between these two. All right, back in Cricut Design Space, we're going to go to the next screen. And it says, nice, press the flashing load and unload button. All right, so you will note that the load and unload button that's right here is flashing, right? So we can go ahead and load it in. All right, and then Design Space says, when you're ready to start the cut, press the flashing go button. Okay, so before we start the cut, I want to note a couple things here if you're new to the Cricut Explore 3. First of all, if you've used a Cricut before, you might be like, oh, where's the mat? So when you're using smart vinyl, you don't need a mat, which is really pretty cool. This is a piece of smart vinyl, so we can just put it in without needing a mat. Second, it's going to cut really fast. The Cricut Explore 3 is really fast, so I won't have a lot of time to explain as we're cutting. But I want you to notice how it pulled it in and then brought it back. It's always checking to make sure you have enough material and that there's nothing behind your Cricut that's going to get in your way, right? So it always tests it before it actually does the cut. So that's all. Everything is going as expected. So when we're ready, we want to press this flashing button. It's going to start cutting. I'll zoom in so you can see it a little better. It was super fast, right? Yeah. Okay. So back in Cricut Design Space, it tells us to unload the material. So we want to press the flashing button. And let me zoom out again so you can see everything. There we go. See this flashing button right here? We press this to unload it. And, oh, here it is. You can see it. Let me get that in the light. A little bit more. There we go. There, see, it's cut. So it did the cut for us, which is awesome. And smart material, it's actually marked on the back. It says smart vinyl right here on the back. See, smart vinyl. So whenever it's at smart vinyl, it'll say on the packaging, and it will also say on the back of the material. So you always know. You're not confused there. All right. So Design Space says our test is complete. Nice work. To confirm, a clean cut peel vinyl decal from liner. All right, so let's take a look at this. So here is our vinyl. Let me zoom in so you can get a nice clear look at this. All right. Here's all of our stuff from earlier. We can set that aside. So here it is, you see. So this is cool. Normally I would use a tool, but it's telling us to just peel it, so we could give that a try. So to just peel it, I would bend it back like this and see if I can catch it, which it looks like I can. And it looks like a very clean cut to me. Now it's leaving part of the C in there, but that's not a big deal. Normally we would weed this, which is what we call when we remove the parts that we don't want. We don't normally just peel it like this, but this is such a nice simple cut that it seems okay. And take out the little part of the C here. I will talk about what weeding is tomorrow when we talk all about tools and supplies for the Cricut. Okay, so here is basically a sticker. Now I can see I tore the C when I remove this. If we're using a weeding tool, this won't happen, but it's okay. We can see that it's working properly, right? We could always peel that up too. So if you wanted to use this little sticker, you certainly can. You can put it on your Cricut or put it on your Cricut Kickoff handbook or wherever you want, right? And this is sticky on the back. This is adhesive vinyl. So see, it's sticky on the back. So you could put that onto something. This is permanent vinyl, I believe. Let's see if it says on the back. It doesn't say, oh no, this is removable. It does say in the back what it is. I'm gonna hold that up. Hopefully it'll focus for us. There we go. See, it says removable. So this would be perfect for putting on your Cricut if you wanted to do that. So it worked. It worked excellently, in fact. Okay. So I think that we've done it. We've got it all set up on all of our devices, and we are ready to go. All right, so that was lesson one. Lesson one is just getting everything connected so that it's working with your device. Now, if you have any questions about how to set up your Cricut Explore 3, please let me know. Leave your question below this video or come ask in our awesome Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters, where you can get help and guidance and inspiration from over 500,000 Cricut crafters just like you. Now, if you also want to learn about how to set up a Cricut Joy, a Cricut Explore Air 2, an original Cricut Maker, or a Cricut Maker 3, I have lessons on those machines too. You can get links to those classes at CricutKickoff.com. And don't forget that tomorrow I'll be back for lesson 2 of Cricut Kickoff, and I'll show you all of the materials and supplies that you can use with your Cricut Explore 3. Also, I'll make sure you know what was really good to have and what you can leave till later so that it's not so overwhelming. And until next time in our next class, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.